would thrive in the environment that we were able to provide in terms of that secure learning environment. We also had an online platform, so all DCSD students would be able to participate in summer enrichment activities if they did not come in person. Our second would be bigger and bolder. We had way more options and time being offered with our goals to be bigger and better results. The third would be tailored to people, meeting expectations of students, families, and staff. We continue to hear that our families want more, and we tried to continue to offer those experiences to those families all summer long. And then a community-focused program. Our programming offered over 50 partnerships within the community and across the city. So we really focused on wanting to make sure our students had those experiences, and so did our parents.
So our first goal with participation, we really looked at for our different levels, different factors that they would use to measure how well and to what extent they participated. So real quick, I'm gonna let Stacy talk about preschool.
So for our pre-K program, it was a little bit different than the K-12 program in the district. It was funded through United Way through a grant we wrote for a Strong Start Literacy initiative. So initially, students that we invited for enrollment were below benchmark on their fall screening and their winter screening of our early literacy screener. And so of the students that were initially invited, 80% of them attended, which we had 4 classrooms, 60 students, so that left us some more spots for students that came later in the year or scored poorly towards the end of the year or were at risk, or teacher nominations based on other factors as well. So we had, we are proud to get those kids in. It's the first time we've done summer school in a long time since we used to be around. And then once the kids got there, we had our attendance rate of 73%. So with the gas prices this summer, we thought that was pretty impressive for everybody to get across town.
For elementary, our targeted enrollment was 522 students across 17 of our elementary schools. And of those who attended and enrolled, we had an attendance rate of 81%. For junior high, we had 24 students across the 4 middle schools, and we housed that at 1 middle school, and attendance there was 76%. And then for high school, we had 38% from North, 22% from Central, 36% from West, and 48% from Mid-City who were invited to participate in credit recovery and who took advantage of that. And then we measured the high school rate, not through attendance, but through those course completion rates, because there was a mixture of were they coming on site, were they working on that on their own? So we really kind of measured that a little bit differently. North had a 57% completion rate for their courses, Central 49%, West 25%, and Mid-City 22%.
Goal 2, we want to be strategic and we want to right size. This year we went big and bold. We went across the district to make sure that we were serving students in every building. Next year we want to be smart and strategic, knowing that we have to plan for the future. And in future years, we want to make sure that we strive towards sustainability. We want to make sure that this sort of programming is available to all our students for years and years to come. The funding sources that we're using right now, as Stacy said, we're using a United Way grant for pre-K. And then for this year and for next year, we'll be using ESSER funds. As we continue to look towards future years, that's where our sustainability piece needs to come in, and we'll focus on that.
Another one of our goals was providing a lot of individualization and a lot of options for our students and our families. So this year, we provided sites at all of our pre-K-12 locations, and we provided face-to-face for targeted students who we wanted to invite to come in and work on targeted interventions. And then we provided an online option for everybody. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. What we are thinking about next year as we start to envision what does this look like for summer 2023, we are thinking about looking at strategic regional locations for our K-6 programs. There are certainly certain areas that have high attendance for summer programming. We want to look at what's smart and sustainable. Do we want to look at combo sites? How do we coordinate with meal locations? So that's part of our starting to think about next year. And then as we develop that smart and sustainable, or what do we call that, ongoing, for future years, we want to look at what's working for summer programming and continuing to support that through really strong year-round planning.
Goal four. I feel like we really did a great job with this goal, which was a community focus. We focused on bringing our certified staff in the mornings, and then we focused in the afternoons on that community piece where our students got to participate and experience partner experiences. So we really aligned with the community messaging this year, and we infused it into all of our programming. Next year, we will continue to emphasize community resources and supports. And in future years, we will maintain and grow that community partnership to create a sustainable model. We know that partnership is the key to continuing sustainable programming like this.
So again, what's nice about what we did this summer is we were able to offer in-person summer learning happening at almost every site. And you can see a list of our sites on this slide. One thing to note is that for junior high, we kept everybody at Sudlow. We had one face-to-face location for junior high, and that came down to some staffing. But we did have the ability for students at Smart, Williams, Wood to come on site for help at Sudlow and Walcott. And then for high school, all of our high schools had sites on site, and then Mid-City joined with West. Sorry, I got that switched around in my head. So we did try to make sure, even if we didn't have a staff member that came available to school, how can we make sure we get kids the opportunity to come on site to work with people who are doing good programming for the summer?
A quick nod to our JUMP programs. And I have to make a note myself. As I was going through this presentation, I made an error and inadvertently left off Walcott, who hosted a phenomenal JUMP program with 55 students. I apologize for that. I went to Walcott. And so I inadvertently left that off, but I want to make sure that you all know that they did have 55 students attend their JUMP program, which is a program that focused on incoming 7th graders into the building in terms of acclimating them and getting them used to their surroundings. Our high school bridge program, which again, it's all about that transition. We had participants at Central, North, and West participate in this program. Again, it's all about acclimating and giving these students an experience to become familiar with the school before they are to start.
We mentioned quite a bit about the targeted support for on-site summer learning, but we also wanted to talk a little bit about the online content that was available for all of our students. This was an experiment. We've not done something like this for summer learning in the past, and so we brought on board a team, and you can see their names on this slide. And we were looking for really great teachers in each grade level or content area across the district who were interested in developing some online experiences for students where any kid could jump in for their grade level, for their content interest, and find something engaging or extra, just some way to stay connected during the summer. And this ranged from things about academic activities, science experiments, encouraging to go to some of our community areas that were having free days or low-cost days, staying age appropriate. For example, if it was high school, we gave them heads up about job fairs that were coming. So things that were appropriate for their grade level that were engaging for them. And so this is an area where it was the first time we've done this, and you can see a screenshot on here of the 3 different levels, and we can provide you the link if you want to look closer at what that looks like. And so this one is a little bit interesting as far as a metric of did this work for us? And we don't really have like exact numbers of how many people access this. So one of the things we were talking about is, as we prepare for next year, possibly surveying our families. Was this useful to you? Did you know about this? What might you want out of this? There was a lot of great content that was developed that we could even reuse next summer. So that's part of something that we want to continue to think about. Is summer learning is for all of our Davenport kids. We do want to offer intensive services when we can for students in need, but also we want all of our kids engaged over the summer.
Okay. So we were really excited with some of the data outcomes for our students. You know, as the purpose of the program for pre-K was really that boost to help students get ready for kindergarten. We chose to use the informal scrutiner that the kindergarten teachers use across the district, just to see where kids are when they start. So we used that at the very first week of summer school and then reassessed at the end of summer school. Covered a lot of different skills, which you can read on there. I'm not going to read each of those, but just some of the highlights from the data is that students overall averaged a gain of 11.5 points between the beginning and then at the end of that 6-week program. Uppercase letter naming increased for an average of 3 letters per student, and letter sound knowledge increased at an average of 3.5 sounds per student. So growth in all areas, but those were some that we really thought were important for kindergarten readiness, so we wanted to highlight tonight.
Next slide would be about our summer partners, and Shani mentioned that this is really an exciting part of our program, and you can see some really great names of organizations on this slide who had an active just excitement of working with our kids, and they brought some really great hands-on experiences to our buildings. They offered experiences for our students sometimes at their locations. Our students love that, and there's an additional slide of enrichment in action. Yes. In a little bit here, you can see some pictures of our kiddos interacting, but this was absolutely an element of excitement and success, and also continuity throughout our community as we're thinking about our students and our community. It was really great to have our summer partners. So a thanks to every person and every organization on that slide.
Another piece to our summer program that we're very proud of would be the AmeriCorps members that serve within our programs. AmeriCorps is a program within this community that is similar to the Peace Corps, but you serve domestically. So the members that we had working, we had 6 St. Ambrose University football players who chose to stay on campus, working specifically with a group of identified students across our programming that would benefit from mentorship. So these football players were spread out and they had a little caseload of 4 to 5 mentees that they would spend about 45 minutes to an hour with every day. And I've been involved in a lot of mentor programs within my time, and I would say this is one of the most successful mentoring programs we've been involved with. Bringing in those football players was like bringing in celebrities. I mean, the kids wanted to be there. They were engaged. It just really showed some of our most at risk, hey, you know, this is awesome. They're St. Ambrose football players, but to them it was like they were NFL football players. And for our mentors, they also recognized the importance of what they were doing. So it was awesome. And then we also had 6 additional AmeriCorps members serving throughout the district this summer, or over the summer. And they provided extra classroom supports. They worked with our kiddos, facilitated activities. So in general, our district's work with AmeriCorps in facilitating these programs, it was a great summer. And all of these folks were college students, so they earned a college scholarship at their end of their term of service. So it was an excellent, excellent summer of AmeriCorps. And again, we have some pictures with our mentors and their mentees. So it was a great, great time.
Shani's keeping me on the right slide. I've lost track. Okay. Or she took my paper. So also a quick nod to our summer library reading program. This is one of our community partners with the public library program. We want to give a really big shout out and congrats to Hayes Elementary, who won the summer reading school competition this summer. So 36% of their entire student body participated in the Davenport Public Library summer reading program. And so they will get $1,000 worth of books to go to their school library. And so the public library library is going to partner with them and talk about what books they would love to have for their library. So go Hayes Bulldogs, super proud of you. We also had excellent participation across our schools. So in total, over 1,000 of our Davenport students participated in the summer reading program, and all Davenport Elementary summer program students participated in the program. So if they're part of our on-site group, they all participated in that. So that was really fun for our kids to get involved with.
A little bit about our K through 6 data. 76% of our students who participated in our K through 6 program maintained or gained in reading. That's awesome. We're super happy. The intent of summer programming is to not, it's summer, and we always have to keep that in mind. It's summer. We need to give the kids the experiences, but to have a rate of 76% growth or maintenance, it's awesome. It shows that there was definitely some active and amazing teaching going on in the summer. And then pushing in those enrichment activities was huge because it only benefited what was going on with curriculum. We used pre and post FAST data, and then also 95% group pre and post tests, which was also the curriculum that was used this summer. Then our students also participated in an additional 3,500 minutes, reading minutes, 2,100 minutes of math, and 2,100 minutes of STEM activities. And that does not include our kiddos that stayed for RAP programming. So a lot of our students opted in, and they stayed with us from 7:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because we wanted to make sure there was an option for families to participate who were working and things like that. So we had about half of those students attending wraparound program each day.
For our junior highs, we used one site, that was Sudlow, and roughly 25% of those students engaged in project-based learning in math and science, and there was a lot of cross-interdisciplinary work in language arts and social studies. We had 76% of our students attending consistently, and parents and students were responsible for transportation at the junior high level. Sudlow was also a meal site this summer, so that was nice to connect those kids to their meals. And also each junior high had a jump academy for those incoming 7th graders. The focus helped them just get ready for that first day of junior high. What are the lunch procedures? How do I open my locker? What's the layout of my building? And every kid got a t-shirt representing their school colors. And so on average, each junior high site had roughly 50 incoming 7th graders who attended Jump Academy.
High school data, we had a total student enrollment by high school is 175 students completed 126 classes at North, 53 students at Central completed 89 courses. West had 170 students complete 54 classes, and Mid-City had 41 students complete 15 classes. 36% of those attending made progress in classes, so they were able to start the school year with academic progress. Some of the highlights of that high school program were perfect attendance and incentives and graduation.
And even though we're wrapping up summer 22, we're excited about summer 2023. And so just a quick kind of anticipated timeline. We are ready as a core team to begin meeting next month and just start talking about what does that look like and putting some meat on the bones as far as planning. That would also include another ESSER request. Again, the K-12 program was entirely ESSER funded, so we would come back to another ESSER request. This year, we want to move up the hiring of the district coordinators, the building coordinators, the teachers, and all the other staff earlier. So we're hoping to even start that in November. We're also hoping to start in December and January, really working with the learning and results team with the curriculum mapping to make sure we know what we want our students to have access to, what their learning goals are for the summer. And then really January and February is working out all of those community partnerships, food service, all the logistics pieces, and then that would all lead us ready to begin enrollment in March. And we've already looked ahead. The theme for the Davenport Public Library Reading Program, which will be echoed across the community, which we also did this summer. The theme for next year is Find Your Voice. So we think that's super fun. We're really thinking about a lot of empowerment ideas for our kids and showing all their different cultures. So we're pretty pumped about that.
And last but not least, we want to make sure to extend a special thank you, and Jen kind of touched on this at the beginning. We could not have done this with without all of the DCSD staff and community partners who have collaborated with us, worked all summer long, and served our students to the best of their capacity to allow for these guys and these students to start school one step ahead and ready to roll for the school year. I will say it was probably the fastest summer I've ever had in my life, and I've been doing this a long time, but I'm so proud of our effort as a district to really focus on summer learning and allow these students to have these experiences, because it's such an awesome experience to have the kids walk into school and be ready to go on their first day. So thank you.
We would love to take any questions you have or any feedback, because again, we'll collect all of that and start to plan for next year here pretty soon.
Director Costian.
So as far as the AmeriCorps program, do you think you're going to be able to expand the numbers and get more participants? Because as you know, I spent a day with you at Madison, and I was just so impressed with the AmeriCorps students, the football players from St. Ambrose. And just like you mentioned earlier, I mean, they just livened up the day. The kids just worshiped them. They were great mentors. They're the right kind of people to look up to. And I was wondering if we would be able to expand on that.
I'm really glad you asked that. I had a follow-up meeting with the football coaches from St. Ambrose because they also want to encourage their athletes to stay on campus in the summer. And they absolutely want to expand the experience, expand the number of AmeriCorps. And we also want to include the other student athletes. So there's several other teams at Ambrose. So we'll be coming together in about December because we start to really focus on bringing AmeriCorps on in March and offer those slots up to our Ambrose athletes specifically around that mentoring program. So long answer is yes, absolutely.
Director Beck.
I have 3 short questions. So when you said one of the goals was to be more strategic in terms of regional locations, and you said you were focusing on areas where, I just need a clarification, areas where you have high attendance, are those also the same areas where we have students who really need the summer programs? Because
So we want to be strategic about a couple things. Yes, we want to be in our most significant areas of need, which is actually where we've also had our highest attendance rates.
Okay.
We also want to be strategic about being able to serve breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
We had program at every school, but we were not able to serve breakfast. Well, we serve breakfast everywhere. Thank you to me having a big room in my office and Sam's Club. But in some locations, just because it was such a huge ask, we didn't have lunch everywhere. Okay. So we want to be more strategic to make sure all of our kiddos can get breakfast and lunch.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So for the online content for all, I know that like the Quad Cities Chamber and like the library, those tend to be warehouses for those types of information, or the city of Davenport or the city of Bluegrass or whatever. Is there a way to sort of put it all into one place rather than reinventing the wheel, especially for some of those community activities that might also be listed somewhere else?
Yeah, we absolutely could. So again, this was our first summer doing this. So we really just did it internally, but we loved the partnerships. We know we leaned a lot on the information John Borger was able to gather for us about all the different community happenings at all the different levels. And so I would see that just continuing to fuse as a community option for kids.
Okay. And then finally, the high school had sort of the lowest level of gains. And you had said that was online only. Is that right? So was it all self-directed? I mean, there was a little bit of in-person.
High school was all in person.
All in person. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had it backwards.
And there was limited online.
Okay.
But the focus was really in-person learning this summer. And so it's really starting to kind of drill down and start to focus on making sure that we're getting those high schoolers in to focus on that credit recovery and graduation.
Okay. Okay. And I know it's harder with high school students to get them to come in. So, okay.
As a sidebar, though, we did have Marty Schultz worked on a program to incorporate our high school students and connect them with credit recovery in the mornings. And then we focused on a partnership with the city for jobs in the afternoon. So that was a pilot this year, and it was relatively successful. So we hope to grow on that as well.
Director Gordon.
I have a few short questions as well. I wanted to piggyback off of what Director Poston asked about the AmeriCorps mentors. Is there a way to make that wraparound so that the students that were mentors during the summer can stick with those students that they mentored during the school year? Because I know that so many of our students need those longer term relationships, but I also know that's hard for college students to commit to. So just wondering about that first.
Excellent question, and I thought about that immediately because our mentors were coming to me. We had a standing Wednesday meeting on Wednesday afternoons. I met with those mentors, and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do after the summer? What about our kids? And we're like, oh, yes. And so we have a plan it may not be as much, but they're going to start to connect with their mentees again in about 2 weeks, whether it's Google Meet or however we're going to connect them, because it was such a strong connection, and Director Poston saw it. The AmeriCorps members made such a huge impact that we're going to continue that going all year. And then they all want to come back as AmeriCorps mentors next year or next summer.
That's good to hear. Thank you. I also had a couple questions about the data. So it says that 76% of K through 6 students who attended the program either maintained or gained in their reading. Do you have an estimate about what the range of growth was? And also, alongside of that, the other 24% that didn't have growth or maintenance, how did the attendance rates correlate to the scores, or did they?
Attendance was definitely with our kiddos that didn't grow. And I will be honest with you, in looking at the data, and we can get more specific data information out to you guys. The growth could be anywhere from 1 or 2 or 3 to all the way to a growth of 50 words per minute. So the growth was it wasn't a consistent growth pattern, but there was definitely maintaining. And then in terms of the kiddos that didn't grow and may have decreased, well, first of all, it's one assessment on one day in the summer, and you never know what's going on because they could have been at the who knows what pool party or anything else. But there was a correlation between attendance with those kiddos and lack of growth. We know that the more those students attend, we know that 30 days of dosage is what it's called, is what's best for those students. We ran a 34-day program. So those students that got to us and came to us regularly were the ones who grew the most.
Director Hayes.
Thank you all for the work you did on the summer program. And also, again, congratulations to Hayes. With the pre-K, how was their structure set up? Were they in the schools that they would be attending? Were they at the villages? How did their particular program work?
So all of our students, so we invited students from all 6 of our sites, so Children's Village Hoover, Children's Village West, Monroe, Truman, Buffalo, and Hayes. We have preschool programs there. But all of them were housed at Children's Village West this summer. Okay. And so we had 4 classrooms there that were fully staffed with a teacher and 2 paras, as we do during the school year on site.
Okay, thank you.
That answer your question, or did I forget a piece of it?
No, you got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, they were all 4-year-olds will be going into kindergarten in the fall, so, or they're in kindergarten right now, I should say. That way, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you for the great presentation. Oh, hold on.
Sorry.
Director Gordon.
I meant to say too, I heard from some of the sites and they were very impressed with their attendance turnout. It was a couple elementary sites. And they had a really good time, the teachers did, and they know that the students did as well. So thank you for putting that together.
Thank you, ladies. Board reports. Are there any board reports? Director Poston?
I'd just like to congratulate Coach Cruzy and his staff at Davenport West and the West Side football team for their homecoming victory the other night. And I also want to thank all the people responsible for the program that was put on that night. We had 4 parachutists come in and brought in the game ball, and then they also honored the military and first responders. And I just think it was a really good turnout as far as the crowd. And so I just want to thank those people. And again, congratulations to the Falcons.
Director Gordon. Director Gordon.
I wanted to acknowledge that the Central High Marching Band had their first competitions this weekend, and they won grand champion at both of them, along with several other awards, caption awards, I think. I know at one of the competitions, the drum majors won best drum majors. So we are off to a swinging start with our marching band. We should be very proud of them. If you get a chance to check out the show, please do.
Thank you. Director Hayes.
And the board would like to express our deepest sympathy to the Grady and the Taylor family in the loss of a mother and the son that was to attend Williams a few weeks ago, and an update on the daughter that, they questioned her prognosis at one point, but now she's starting to do better. So just keep them, your thoughts.
Thank you, Director Hayes. The superintendent and myself met with the mayor and city administrator of Davenport for our bi-monthly meeting, and our main focus was with school starting back up. My pet peeve, speeding in school zones. So if you'll notice, the city of Davenport and the police department have been promoting that like crazy on social media, which we will too, just to bring awareness to that, because I think people don't pay attention and they're texting on their phones, driving through, flying through school zones. So definitely want to make sure whenever you're in a school zone it is 25 and watch out for our kiddos, because a lot of little ones don't know any better and they'll walk right out there. So with that, unless there's any other board reports, all right, we'll move on to communications. Open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district's website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email the request to Brenda T. at tbrin@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. And tonight we have 16 open forum requests. We'll do 2 minutes apiece. Director Potts will keep the time. When you hear it go off, please wrap up what you're saying, and then we will move to the next one. I'll call out the first 2, and then also when you get up to the mic, make sure you state your name and address for the record. Up first, we have Kelly Quick and Stacy Alexander. Make sure you push the little button on the microphone and the light should turn green.
Kelly Quick. My address is 404 West Parkview Drive, Walcott, Iowa. Good evening. I am here tonight as a concerned Walcott resident and a Walcott educator. 2 minutes is not nearly enough time to tell you how great the Walcott community and Walcott Elementary is. I would like you to get a firsthand glance at how great the community and the school are. So I invite you to come out at some point before you make your vote and visit the town and the school. Walcott has many volunteer organizations. These organizations have provided thousands of dollars towards things for the school. That's what small communities do. They take care of one another. When there is a need at the school, a simple request to the community, and people come to help. Community looks a lot different in Walcott. We take pride in our school, our parks, and our events. We partner with one another to do great things. Your possible decision to close the school will have a negative impact on this great community. Your decision could possibly ruin any growth and sustainability of our town. This is not just closing a building in the town of Davenport. This is closing a school and will ruin a town. People move to Walcott for the school and the sense of community. They get the best of two worlds, being part of a small town and being part of a big district. You say we will still have our intermediate building, so we will be fine. We won't be fine. We won't be fine. We have witnessed 40 kids leave our school alone in the last year. That number will double if this closing happens. The Durant School District is able and willing to take on more of our students, and it will happen if these changes are made. We live in this small town for a reason. The school is the reason. There will be no need to put money into the school to make an amazing intermediate building. You will lose so many students that we will not be able to fill it. I know our numbers are low. I get it. We lost 40 kids to Durant in the last year. There have been many factors that have played into losing kids from our school. These factors were out of our control. I would venture to say that the majority of these kids left Walcott because of decisions that the district made in the last 2 years. In closing, I want to thank the board, and I want the board to look at what kind of students we move on to the area high schools. That should speak volumes. Do your research and really look at what kind of students your small towns are providing.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Alexander. I live at 223 East Parkview Drive, Walcott. And I am a former Davenport student, K through 12. I am a current employee of this district for 23 years. And I have a child who is a student in the district. So I do believe in our Davenport district. I would like you to consider, what if we kept Walcott a K-8? Funding. It is already slated. The rooms are that size for those bodies. We also have then for busing consideration of you are taking students from a local area and out into the country and our trailer park and having to bus them now further out. We already have a busing shortage, so this is something that could ease back on that issue. You also have then, we are a rural school and we do attract a lot of people to our Davenport School District because they want the small town atmosphere, but also then a larger school for the opportunities when you go to high school. Your staff, students, they come to our town for these things. We want to make sure that they still come in. If you take a look, if you go down to the downtown and ask for property tax values, because Walcott keeps pulling in and we keep having people move to Walcott, our property taxes have gone up quite considerably. So there's value in that you are bringing in money for this. We're short on that. You also have then cross-curricular. I have students who are in junior high and I do some of the STEM classes, and I brought in elementary students. I bring in classes. It gets them excited about the coming up years, what you can do in junior high, and builds that excitement at an early age. We do little buddy reading with our elementary people in junior high, and sometimes that engages students who otherwise, if you're at the same age level, they're not engaged, but suddenly you put a young child in, they're doing better. Please take into consideration some of these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, Joe Quick and Britta Needham. Did I say that right? Perfect.
Joe Quick, 404 West Parkview Drive, Walcott. I wanted to talk to you today about the pending closure of Walcott Elementary School. Walcott School is more than a school to the town. It's part of our community. Walcott is a community built on motto, hearts and hands working together. Nowhere is that more evident than Walcott Elementary School. When the school needed a new playground, community raised funds for it. When they needed a Gaga pit, somehow the community found the funds again. When we needed smart boards, they were donated from the community. When the music department needed new sound shells, again, they were donated from the community. When the school needed a new electronic sign in front of the school, the funds were raised by the community. These are just some examples of the community taking care of its elementary school, because Walcott Elementary School is the community. You take away this school and you slowly kill the community. That brings me to one of the most important reasons Walcott should not be closed, the killing of our community. Because this is what you as a board will be doing to our community. While I was out petitioning last week, I met many new people, but the ones that stuck in my mind are the ones that had children and just moved out to Walcott. The elementary school was the reason they moved to Walcott. In fact, I spoke to one individual who had just moved out 4 months ago. And to say the least, I destroyed her Friday night when I told her what was on the block, Walcott School. She had not heard of the changes being proposed by the Davenport district. Not everybody is on Facebook to get that, reads the newspapers, so she wasn't aware of that. Would they have moved to Walcott? I don't think so. They would have looked somewhere else to have a community elementary school. If they had known Walcott was closing, they would not be there. And this will be the new town, or the new theme, the new motto for Walcott. Why move there? There's no elementary school. How does a town grow without a new influx of young families? It doesn't, it dies. I encourage you to Google what happens to small towns when an elementary school or a school leaves a community. It's not in favor of the small town, it kills it. Thank you.
My name is Britta Needham. My address is 787 South Main Street in Walcott. My name is Britta Needham, and I ask you to reconsider the closure of Walcott Elementary School. I'm coming to you as an educator at Walcott School for over 13 years, a resident of Walcott for 5, and a future Walcott School parent. I feel the closure of Walcott Elementary School would be detrimental to our town and our community. Walcott is a vibrant and quintessential Midwest small town. These sort of towns are hard to come by anymore, and we are immensely proud of the community we have. I remember smiling on my first day as an educator at Walcott School, seeing the bike rack parked with many bikes without bike locks. I instantly knew why people wanted to live here. Parents trusted their small elementary student to make their way alone to school, knowing that the town was safe and that its inhabitants would ensure that their child got there. It has already been rumored that people would leave the district if their small children, K4 or K5, would be bused to another school. I fear this will have a domino effect on not only our community, but also our junior high and high schools. We've lost dozens already to a surrounding community, and it would only worsen. Decisions like these kill small towns. We all can name a handful here in Iowa, and we fear of being the next town on the list. I invite you to come to our community events and to see the passion and love this community has, and see how incredibly generous the local businesses and families have been to our school during its entire existence. I also extend an invitation to come to our school and see our students thrive in the conducive learning environment we've worked tirelessly to create. I beg you to help find us other solutions in order to help our kids, community, and school district. The entire district would be impacted in a domino effect by this decision. Thank you.
Thank you both. Up next, Jen Chisholm and Kirk Kohlberg.
Hi, my name is Jen Chisholm, and we live at 21905 Maysville Road in Walcott. I'd like to start out that we have 3 small children. One's currently a 4th grader, we have a 3rd grader, and we have a 1-year-old. We started our kids at a private school in Davenport. We moved to Walcott a couple years ago. We chose to send our kids to Walcott. It's more than just a community for us. It's where our kids can grow. And I'm going to get really emotional about this because it's that important to all of us. And you need to come to our community. Come see what we're about. Come see us have our 4-year-olds play baseball with their neighbors who come from Buffalo and Bluegrass. And already I feel like this school district forgets about the rural kids. Our girls are on the bus for over an hour and a half after they leave school at night. We're going to send them 15, 20 minutes farther away. What time are they going to get home? What time do they have to be on that bus to get there? And I know the bus is optional. We can take them. But these are things that I feel like when you live in town, you don't think of. You don't think, well, my kid's going to be on the bus for an hour and a half. Does it really matter? Because it's not your child. When it comes down to all of these people in this room, they're the people that I know care about our kids just as much as they care about ours. And there's people in here, there's a teacher from last year who cared so much about our kid that she would call and say, hey, this is the trouble she's having at school. What can I do to help her? There's not any of that we ever got from our private school. Walcott is different. And please just come out, see our community, learn what our community is about. We don't even technically live in the town of Walcott, but I consider that our community because that's where our kids are. That's where their friends are. So please come to our community, see who we are. Thank you.
Kirk Coburg, a graduate of Walcott High School, West High School, put 2 kids through the school, on the city council in Walcott. All I have to say is ditto, because I believe that that's how most of us feel here about Walcott School. But I actually have a couple other things that I'd like to get to. The surveys that will be going out soon, yet the district has not provided the redrawn boundaries for the proposed alternatives. How can the citizens be expected to wisely comment on the alternatives without knowing where their children will be attending school next year? And how can presumed saved costs be estimated without the new boundaries known? Will the board be releasing this information with the survey? The intent of these questions is to gather our brothers to the south. Oh, never mind the rest of that. There's more I want to go, but that's all I really want to emphasize right now is, we need some information from you guys. I feel like we didn't get that. We're struggling to get information from you. It doesn't, yes, you guys did a proposal a year and a half ago and got Bray Architectural on board with you guys, but none of us really knew anything about this until a month or so ago. Actually, a month. So a little transparency would have been nice a little bit sooner. Thanks.
Thank you both. Up next, Jacob Puck and Char Knudsen. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jacob Puck. I live at 230 West Flag Street, Walcott. I am a former Walcott student, K-8. I graduated Davenport West. I'm also a former Davenport Schools teacher. I am currently serving on my 4th term on the Walcott City Council. I come before you tonight to voice my opposition, as well as the City of Walcott's opposition to the closure of Walcott Elementary. The proposed plan would be a detriment to our community. As you see, with little notice, we can easily fill the room with concerned citizens. Thank you all for coming out tonight. The current K-8 layout of the school is the reason why many people move to our town. It is the heart of our community. You close the heart of our community, you will kill the city of Walcott. The proposed plan will force many students to other school districts, not only Durant, but also North Scott. No matter what your numbers say, it will be greater than what your numbers are coming out at how many people will leave the district. The change comes at a time for the city. We just filled one housing development. We have other people looking at creating new housing developments out there. You're going to close a school in a growing community, plain and simple. That helps no one. And on a personal note, President Gosa said that he has a monthly meeting with the mayor of Davenport and the police chief. I've served on the city council for 14 years. I have met one school board or one school official in 14 years at one of our meetings. I think it'd be nice to see some faces out there once in a while. I know it's easy to forget about us. I can guarantee you the same thing goes for Bluegrass and Buffalo. It'd be nice to see you guys come out to our meetings once in a while or our events and meet the people who live out there and see how much the people out there love our community and support that school. You look around that school, it is filled with community donations, plain and simple. Anything in that school, smart boards, playground equipment we just installed last year, were all raised by the community. We easily are the most supported school in your district. Thank you.
I'm Shar Knudsen at 308 North Main Street, Walcott. I'm director at Calvary Preschool in Walcott. We are located at the Methodist Church, and we are the only preschool in town. I do want to thank you, board members, for serving our community. 15 years ago, our preschool was approached about joining forces with the Davenport schools and being a partner for the statewide voluntary preschool program. After much discussion, we agreed and invested several $1,000s to comply with the requirements. This was a hardship, but we judged it would make our program stronger and, more importantly, benefit the children in our area by providing them with an even higher level of excellence. Now we have concerns that that investment is in jeopardy with the possible closing of our local school. We also have competition from a neighboring district, and each year see parents of potential students deciding to enroll in a school just a few miles away. Our fear and concern is that more families will choose a preschool in a different location so their little ones will make an easier transition into kindergarten with older siblings in schools other than Walcott. We already see about 1/2 of our 4-year-olds without prior preschool experience and can assume that that will increase if our local program flounders. Kindergarten teachers district-wise can tell you how important it is for children to have early childhood experience before entering kindergarten. We want those opportunities to stay in place rather than diminish. Please carefully consider the impact that pulling our elementary school out of Walcott will have in the years ahead for the families that we serve. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you both. Lynette Tarchinsky and Sean Dykstra.
It's very phonetic. Good evening. My name is Lynette Tarchinsky. I live at 431 West Parkview Drive in Walcott, Iowa. I just want to say thank you for giving this opportunity to us so we can share our thoughts, and thank you to everyone who's come here to support Walcott tonight. I am a proud member of the Walcott community. I was raised in a farm north of Walcott, and when I started my family, I moved back out to Walcott because I wanted to provide the same opportunities for my kids. I don't want our elementary kids to leave town because of those opportunities. I also feel that if you move our kids out of Walcott, you're going to rip the heart out of our community. We have over 20 different community organizations, and you've heard about all of the different things that happen for our kids. But our kids learn from all of those groups. And our kids are out there volunteering with their parents, their aunts, their uncles, their friends. They're playing ball with each other. They're cleaning up parks. And they're not going to do that in the community where they get bused 10 miles to go to. They're not going to participate in the city where they go to school. And pretty soon, Walcott will cease to exist. These groups will die because there won't be kids coming up and becoming adults and wanting to move to the same community to give their kids the same opportunities, because those opportunities are not going to be there. I know you guys care a lot about numbers and dollar signs, but I think what's really important to me is that you realize that these kids aren't just numbers, and they're not just dollar signs. And I'm trying to raise really good human beings, and I think the right place to do that is at Walcott Elementary. So, thank you.
Good evening, Sean Dykstra, 425 West Parkview Drive in Walcott, Iowa. Thank you for having us tonight. Dear board and other members of the Davenport Community School District decision-making body, I stand here before you today as a member of both the Walcott School faculty for 20 years. Don't tell my kids, they still think I'm in my 20s. And now a new Walcott resident. First, let me say from a professional standpoint that closing Walcott Elementary School would be a terrible loss for DCSD. As I'm sure you're aware, Walcott annually scores at or near the top of achievement scores across the board. Instead of closing one of your best schools, why wouldn't you celebrate it? Maybe use it as a model for other schools to follow. It's a wonderful, safe, inviting, and encouraging place for students to grow and thrive. Walcott School has a long tradition of attracting both students and teachers who want to be part of such an amazing learning community. As a new resident of the Walcott community, I have to say the thought of closing the school is deeply disturbing. A very informed decision was made purposefully to buy a house in Walcott and raise my stepson in this great community, in large part because of the wonderful school that lies within its boundaries. To move to this town only to find out he will be bused somewhere else is disheartening. I fear that other young families looking to relocate will choose elsewhere, knowing their children will not be able to attend the local neighborhood school. Additionally, I'm sure you're aware of the 40-plus students and families that have already transferred out of Walcott School and open enrolled elsewhere due to board decisions and policies implemented during the pandemic. I fear this will only increase dramatically with the closing of our school, and DCSD enrollment will continue to decline. In short, closing the school will not only be devastating to the growth or sustainment of the community of Walcott, but I believe the Davenport Community School District will feel the loss as well with decreased enrollment. Again, I say why not celebrate Walcott School and the city of Walcott and market them throughout the whole Quad Cities as a place you want to raise your kid. Please reconsider your proposal and look for more viable cost-saving measures other than closing your best school. Thank you.
Thank you both. Up next, Tim Hammond and Austin Burt.
Is this thing on? Yep. Tim Hammond, 6525 186th Street, Walcott, Iowa. In recent months, the school board has come out with its upcoming visionary planning. All 3 plans set forth by the board and Bray Architects all have Walcott losing its elementary school to be bused to another school. These plans have our town very concerned for the children of this community along with the vision of our town. I would ask all school board members, along with Bray Architects, to take a minute to reflect on how a small town is driven by an elementary school. Is there a study on economic loss to a town that loses its elementary? I know what you're all thinking. Look at the enrollment decline that we have been seeing in our schools. Well, we all need to take a good look in the mirror and realize decisions that have been made by this school board, along with prior school board members, including former superintendents, has been a very big driving factor into how our schools are being deflated. We all know changes need to be made by this district. We all know that the can has been kicked down the road long enough. But we also have to keep in mind, what are we going to do to stop the bleeding of losing kids to other school districts? If you make this change, I believe you will lose a lot more kids to neighboring districts. It has become too easy for them to change schools. There are 3 buses that come from Durant to pick up kids to go to their school. Does Davenport have a bus stop to pick up 3 students from outside of their district? I doubt it. So what is the plan to retain students and to also get students back that we have already been lost? Or are we just writing those students off and don't care? That is what I believe is happening here. Walcott, Bluegrass, Buffalo are some of the best schools in the district. I don't even think it's up for a debate. Just look at West High School's homecoming court. It was by far a majority of Walcott, Bluegrass, and Buffalo kids. Many more kids are also on honor roll, student senate, yearbook, athletic teams, and are leaders of these buildings. If you make a decision to close Walcott Elementary, how many of these leaders is Davenport Schools going to lose? You're planning on closing buildings in Davenport, I get it. And you're planning to keep Walcott, Bluegrass, and Buffalo buildings open. But why even mess with them if you're going to have them open anyways? Keep Walcott, Bluegrass, and Buffalo running as they are now. What you are trying to do with the schools is exactly what Walcott School is. A safe learning environment for all kids with the stability of having a familiar face at the school to help comfort a previous student when needed, to push students when needed, and to show love to students when needed. That's not all I had, but I just really hope you take these comments into consideration when you make your decision. Thank you.
Austin Burt, 790 North Main Street. Kent, I want to reiterate your comments about the West High homecoming game. It was really cool to be there and see those sites with the skydivers come in with a game ball. That was really cool. And as Tim mentioned, 17 out of the 20 homecoming court members were members of the Walcott, Bluegrass, and Buffalo community. We raise a lot of good kids and leaders in our community. Myself, I'm a business owner and an active member in the community. I serve on numerous organizations. I was a founding member of the Walcott Hearts and Hands Foundation and immediate past president of that organization. I served on the Chamber of Commerce, the Community Club, the Athletic Board, and the Walcott Day Committee. For those of you that don't know what the Walcott Day Committee is, this is a really special group. Anyone, show of hands, been to the Walcott School? Have you seen the big blue chair that sits out front of that school? The Walcott Day Committee purchased that big blue chair. That big blue Adirondack chair was $3,000. We had it shipped down from a company in Wisconsin. My dad and I assembled it in our driveway and we hauled it up with a utility tractor in the front yard. We park it there at the start of every school year so kids can get their pictures taken with it. And anytime you sit in that chair, it will bring a smile to your face. You're like a big kid in that chair. It's really cool. So these little kids that have started in kindergarten and worked their way up to 8th grade, every year they get a progression with the big blue chair. We just think that is so special. I'm also the youngest recipient of the Community Service Award back in 2014. So I have a lot of heart in this community. I was blindsided when I learned about the potential closure of the Walcott Elementary School. We started a petition right away, just literally a week ago, and already we've received over 2,000 signatures. We went around, knocked on doors. A lot of people had no idea that this change was even occurring. They're completely blindsided by it. Emotions that came to mind, anger, frustration, and sadness were some of these common emotions. And again, many residents have no idea that this is occurring. You go onto your website to look at this long-term facility planning. There was no date of when these meetings were occurring. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't make the last meeting because we had our Walcott One event where we bring in 20 plus organizations from the community and talk about all the goodwill that we do in this community. This information was then shared on the Walcott Community Facebook page, the Bluegrass Area Information page, and the Buffalo Community Information page. Again, a lot of people had no idea that these changes were coming. 3 major news networks, WHBF, Channel 4, reached out to me last Tuesday WQAD on Wednesday. They've both done stories since, and KWQC was there doing coverage today to cover this story. We also attended the city council meeting in Walcott last Tuesday, where all council members spoke out, and there was a packed room of residents concerned about these changes. I hope you'll read that letter. It's not nearly strong enough, but it gets to the heart of it. We're here tonight to speak out to it, and we'll continue to come to these meetings to speak out against these changes. I would like to invite you to a community hall town meeting that we're having tomorrow night. It's at our Legion at 6:00 p.m. We've invited members of all three communities, Walcott, Bluegrass, and Buffalo, our city council members, members of the Scott County Board of Supervisors, and also members of the press. All three news networks have said that they'll be there for coverage as well. And I do not believe the Davenport Community School District wants any more bad publicity out of this. We're expecting a great turnout, like every community organization that comes together for Walcott. I'd like to personally all invite you to that meeting. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you both. Megan Luloff and Jan Garland.
Sorry. Megan Luloff, 401 West Parkview Drive in Walcott. I've been sitting back there trying to think about narrowing down what I want to say, and thought I'd just speak from my heart, but I feel like everyone who has spoken so far, we all share a heart in the things that we believe in about Walcott. I grew up in Walcott. I was a student K-8 at Walcott School, went to West High, and once we had our own kids, we decided that was the community we wanted to grow in, because it's so amazing, as everybody here has said. It's a family. It becomes a family. The school is the center of it. It's the heart of the community. I can know that my second grader and fifth grader can walk to school from my house across town and that they're going to be safe the whole way. And I can text any one of these people here and say, have you seen them? Are they okay? And they'll respond. My concerns are my fifth and second grader will be split up next year. That hasn't happened. What am I supposed to do with my incoming third grader next year who's never rode a bus, when his sister is at a different school and I work at another school? That's a scary thought for me to have that happening. I don't know. Walcott is such a great community and the school is the heart of it. And although I don't work at Walcott this year, thinking of all of these teachers having to be put somewhere else just breaks my heart. They work in and out every day, hour after hour, to make sure our kids are loved and taken care of and educated to the fullest potential. And to think that that could be lost is heartbreaking. Thank you.
I am Jan Garland. My address is 5260 306th Street in Dixon, Iowa. I'm speaking because I have been an employee of the district for nearly 4 decades, and half of them have been at Walcott. The goal when I started teaching was to be able to go to Walcott School because of its reputation. As far as the closing, please consider the following points when thinking of closing Walcott Elementary. Walcott Elementary is a vital part of the community. We just heard how summer school was community focused. That's exactly what happens in Walcott with our community and K-8 building. If you continue on this path, as many have said, you will lose students to Durant, North Scott, and private schools. It's not beneficial for students to be bused into a town when there is a school that they can walk to. Just as Megan said, you're going to be splitting elementary siblings. You're going to be taking those K-4 kids away from their older siblings and have them bused to a district further away. There will be a higher student to teacher ratio. And as it is as it's been proven, lower class sizes equal higher achievement. Since Walcott is successful, maybe that should be the model rather than thinking of closing it. Also, rather than thinking at a bottom dollar amount, look at what's best for the students at Walcott, Bluegrass, and Buffalo. Please consider your mission and vision statements that you read to us at the beginning of this at the beginning of this meeting when you consider closing Walcott Elementary. Take a look around tonight. This is Walcott, community and school coming together. Why would you want to change that? Thank you.
Thank you both. Up next is Kelly Burke and Shannon Newkena.
Kelly Burke, 10087 7th Street in DeWitt, Iowa. I actually do not live in Walcott. I would like to move to Walcott. My family just moved their business there after 50 years of being in Eldridge to Walcott. They've been nothing but open arms to us. But this closing of the elementary, I would not move there. I have 2 kids. One goes to Calvary Elementary or preschool. She's 3. I have a 1-year-old. Everything I wanted was in this community. They've been nothing but open arms to our business moving there. It's a great town for the kids to be in. And now I won't even think about moving there if you guys close the elementary school. I want something that I can take my kids to school. I'm right there. I'm 2 minutes away from the school working for my parents. And if they need me, I can be there. There's no point for me going somewhere else if you bus my kids 10 minutes. I might as well stay in DeWitt and just drive a half hour if they need me. My husband works in Kalamazoo-Wheatland. It'd be easier for me to be half there in Walcott compared to DeWitt. He drives 20 minutes and I drive 30. It's just easier to move to a small community that loves us, open arms. No one knew me. I didn't know any of these people when we moved there, our company there. Every single one of these people love S&V being there. We do food trucks. We do anything for the community. Donating things, it's just a yes. They know when they come in the door, we're going to donate to them. It's something we love to do. The small community means everything. Thanks.
My name is Shannon Newkena. My address is 1510 Whitetail Drive, Bettendorf, Iowa. Unlike a lot of these people, I'm not from that community, although I do feel a part of it because I have been working there for over 9 years. And I would put that school up against any Bettendorf school any day. And the reasons are that we do have small class sizes. That's the reason for our success. Our data show, our socioeconomic, we're at over 56% free and reduced. And you talk about diversity, we need that diverse community. Farming is we need that. That is part of living and life. Like, to shut that down for state of the art, nobody cares about the state of the art. It's the direct instruction that these kids need. That's the research. The research says that these children need us directly in front of their faces teaching. That's why I've exited so many children from special education, because I get to do small group one-on-one instruction. Our classes aren't full of kids running in and out all day long, or we have those small class sizes. Why would you not choose to use us as the model rather than close us? We always produce the highest scores, or some of the top scores in this district, but yet you want to close it. It makes no sense. We even run on a skeleton crew. We have one principal for that whole building. I think is maybe like a quarter time. It's just it. And each year you guys take more and you take more and you take more, and each year we rise to it. And the reason is we just support each other. It's what is best for these children. Again, as Jan said, I challenge you to read what you said in your mission statement. Like, you said it yourselves. Be the difference. You want to provide overall learning environment in classroom safety, health, security. That's Walcott. That is Walcott. You want to ask the what if. What if you left Walcott open and showed that those small classrooms the direct instruction. We don't have all the para support. We also don't have a kindergarten classroom full of 30 students. You guys raise the bar in what you want academically, and then you lower it in everything else in the student-teacher ratio. You go, I need these kids learned by the end of kindergarten. But here's 25 students, and by the way, half of them can't go to the bathroom on their own. So Walcott, we do this. This is what we do. You guys need to step up and know that this is closing this school. This is your school. Model your schools after this. Take away some of these people we don't even know that aren't in the trenches with these kids every single day that are making a ton of money, and give us more teachers. That's what we need. We don't need any more facilitators. We don't need that. I don't even know what they do. We need you guys to step up. Please. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone that participated in open forum. We appreciate everyone's comments. We'll move on to consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Gordon. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Postgen?
Yes.
Director Kleinjerome?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on approval of bills?
Mr. President,
Director Beck?
I move the board approve the following resolution. Resolved, all claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the treasurer, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for the several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the period of August 17th to September 6th, 2022.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Kleinjerome?
Yes.
Director Postgen?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Gordon?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Superintendent report.
There is no superintendent report tonight.
Thank you. Committee reports. Do you have anything on your data wall? Okay. Finance Committee.
We'll be meeting next Thursday.
Long Range School Improvement Advisory Committee, Director Potts. The Long Range Facilities Plan, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And we met last Friday and we had a lengthy discussion about the survey that'll be coming out in the next few weeks. That conversation hinged around finding a local printer that could produce, one printer could produce them all, or if we have to divide it up between two separate vendors.
Along those lines, the board has not discussed anything to do with long-range facilities plans. The board has not made any decisions. The information came to the board from a committee where it was a staff member and a parent from each school within the district, and brought the stuff forward, as well as the survey that's going to come out, as well as all the input we're gathering. So I just want to make that very clear. The board has not made any decision. We haven't even had a discussion on it. We're taking all the data so we make an informed decision. I think there is a lot of preconceived notions out there, and I want to clear that up. And as far as the Long Range Facilities Plan Committee, with the board members, we just discussed the survey and when it's coming to the board. They give us a brief update on the things that have came. LZAC.
As far as I'm aware, we don't have those on the calendar yet.
Okay. Policy Committee.
The policy committee met last week. I wasn't able to be there, but I think we're just continuing on with moving everything over to the new numbering system. And a big, huge thank you to Brenda for doing the heavy lifting on that.
All right, thank you. Legislative advocacy, we will be planning the lunches with the legislators. I also, during the open forum, had Brenda make a note to schedule a bi-monthly meeting with every city mayor and city administrator for myself and the superintendent with every school that's in our district. So I'll report on that bi-monthly. Any other committees that I missed? All right, items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 10.01?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the board denied the 2022-2023 open enrollment application for student number 01 due to the open enrollment guidelines.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Is there any discussion? All right, I will call for the vote. Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
For the record, Director Gordon stepped out, and my vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.02? Director Klein Jerome.
Mr. President, I move that the board set the date for the public hearing to be held on January 9th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. to approve the district's revenue purpose statement and to set an election for said revenue purpose statement for March 7th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Beck or Director Gordon is still not back. My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.03?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Poston.
move the board approve the contract for fiscal year 2022-23 with Dr. Judy Elliott for $43,350.
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Gordon is still not available. My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.04?
Mr. President.
Director Beck.
I move the board approve policy 307, policy 401.14, policy 501.05, 507.05, 507.06, and 605.01.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? I think there was one in the back. Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Hayes? Or Director Beck?
Yes.
I was looking at that wrong. Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Gordon is still gone. My vote is yes. Motion carries. On to discussion items. First subject for discussion is subject 11.01. I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. So we are proposing a partnership with Midwest PBIS. They're an educational organization that provides support for implementing positive behavior intervention support. So we are moving into year 2 of this being a district priority, and we really see this district partnership in building our capacity as a district-wide implementation team. So for example, as we look at our implementation of PBIS in our core, we identify need for area of data. We see them as a partner who could help us better understand how to analyze our data, what data systems to be using, and what training our buildings need to be able to do so. So that's just one example of how we can build internal capacity to support our buildings. So we propose this partnership for this next school year. This would be for about 10 hours a month of support. And again, this would be technical assistance to our district team to support our school buildings implementation. Any questions?
Director Kleindrill.
What or who have we used prior to this? Because we've been doing PBIS for a very long time. Aren't we just working with the AEA to implement that? And why is that not the road we're taking? What benefit are we getting out of here that we couldn't get from the AEA?
So from my understanding, over the last 10 plus years, you're right, we've been still, the district has been sending building teams to receive training from the AEA, but it hasn't been approached systematically, right? Like buildings were kind of going and implementing. Now that it's a district-wide priority, we're doing it as one system. And so we're trying to build up the capacity and expertise of our district leadership, our PBS implementation team, to support buildings in doing so. So we really want to be able to sustain this long-term and not solely rely on an outside agency to do so. So we think this is a priority for that sustainability.
Director Beck.
Yeah, I guess I have a couple questions about, you mentioned data. One of the things that we've had hiccups in rolling out over the last few years is how to systematically code discipline so that, we're looking at the same kid, one person does X, another person does X, and they both get the same Y feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And so how will this help us reach that goal and help with that disproportionality that we've seen in discipline?
Absolutely. So that work has begun, and us making sure that we're working from common definitions for major and minor behavior referrals. So that learning is ongoing for our leaders and for our teachers. And so we see this will be beneficial is once we have that data cleaned up, then what? What is the way we should be analyzing it? What tools should our school teams be using? What should be our focus of data points to help make informed decisions so that we do see a difference in student success? So that's where we see the connection.
So this isn't going to help us come to that same place so much as it's going to help us see patterns potentially where we might be disproportionate in discipline. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is a priority of us, is to improve that disproportionality that we're seeing. And so what's nice about this partnership is it is not cookie cutter by any means. We get to individualize it as we move through this process. So we would be leaning into their expertise on how we improve that for our district, and then that can evolve as we're in this partnership with them.
And do they have a proven track record with other districts similar to ours and the same types of issues?
So they do work, they have worked with other school districts. I can't speak specifics to what those makeups of other districts are, but they also partner with different educational organizations too.
Director Hayes.
I'm wondering if you, with the 10 hours a month, can you explain how that's rolled out? Is it like mass training for the entire district, the leadership team? How is that rolled out to the staff?
So what that looks like, and this is what they've kind of shared with us as we're navigating this together, is that could look like 3 hours of specific training. So for example, there's a specific type of problem solving training when we were looking at behavior data that they will train us as a district implementation team, then we'll train our building teams to do that. They also give 3 hours of coaching. So we have a district-wide implementation plan that we're following that we know is best practice for rolling out, and we're going to share that with them and ask, what are we missing? What do we need to add? And so coaching will occur like that. And then also any specific project that we have going on with PBIS, they can support. So that's how we see this looking right now.
Director Poston.
Yeah, I don't see anything here as far as how many people are involved in this, how many people are actually going to be on site and doing the work.
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now we're working with 2 specific people that are kind of like our main contacts, but based off the learning we need or what project we have going on, they'll have other team members do that based off their area of expertise. And right now we don't have any plan for anyone to be physically on site. That's evolving again based off the need in the project.
So there may not be anybody on site. It might be just virtual.
Correct. Like the training I mentioned earlier, we were talking about would be a virtual training. And we asked, because sometimes we think it's better to be in person for those trainings. And they said because of COVID, they've really been able to evolve their online training and feel like it still meets the need. So we'll be taking that into consideration when we make decisions if it can happen virtual or in person.
Myself personally, I don't feel that this can be effective without them being there in person. As far as I've seen what virtual learning's been, and I'm not a fan of it, and I just think that we need to have these people on site to be effective.
Okay. And keep in mind, this training would be specifically to our team. When we work with school teams, that would be in-person training from us. So when we're working with building teams, that would remain in person.
Is there any other questions? Is there any other information that board members would like? I imagine you're going to bring this to us at the next regular board meeting to vote on. Director Gordon.
I don't know for sure that this is the right avenue for this question, but it sort of correlates. So if not, I understand. But I know that we have a really big focus on PBIS on the front end of behaviors, and we have a really big focus on CRVP on the back end of big behaviors. But do either or both of those programs do any focus on the middle part, the day-to-day structured consequences for the midline behaviors that everyone is seeing day to day? Because that's where I think we have a lot of the trouble and a lot of, especially with consistency of consequence across the board, across the district, across grade levels. That's my question.
So that is a part of PBIS to have those consistent. How do we respond to behavior? So that is a piece of it. And again, that is work that has already been started with our leaders around those common definitions and how we're coding behavior. And then the next step is how we are responding to behavior. So what are those appropriate responses based on certain behaviors, and what are those interventions that can happen at the class level? So that is beginning this year and will be rolled out.
Did you have anything else, Director Gordon? Director Beck.
Piggybacking off of that, I guess I'm still not really clear how this facilitates what I and Director Gordon asked about, like getting that consistency in terms of definitions across the board, building to building, kid to kid. If we have to do that internally anyway, what is this going to do to support that? How is that going to be different from us going to the AEA? Or do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out how, if we are doing the work, are they going to help us come up with this consistency and figuring out what the appropriate interventions is? Or is that stuff we're doing already anyway, and this group is more about analyzing what we're doing? I guess I'm still confused as to how this is different from what we're already doing, or how it's going to enhance and improve for our students what they see in the classroom.
So I think this is us as a district recognizing that we're not experts of PBIS and we need support too. So that's what we see this partnership in, is these people are experts in implementing in all things PBIS. So this is our technical assistance to how we deploy this as a district, just like we're trying to be the technical assistance to our buildings.
Director Poston.
So you mentioned that they've worked with other school districts. Can we get names of other school districts and what kind of success they've had with this. I mean, we're looking at a blank slate here.
Mhm.
I'd like to see some sort of track
Okay.
record.
Yeah, we can get that.
Any other questions? Any other information you all would like to see? All right. All right, we'll move on to the next subject, 11.02, the renewal of the Transition Alliance Program partnership with Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services. I'll turn it over to you again, Courtney.
Yep. So this is just the renewal of our contract. And so what this provides us is any of our students who have disabilities and who qualify for individualized education programs. Once they turn the age of 14, they have access to secondary transition services. And this is a partnership enabling us to provide those services to these students. So as soon as they turn 14 and they qualify for secondary services, they access these to start working on skills that begin to prepare them for employment outside of school. And so this is just our renewal of that program.
Director Beck.
So I know we've been using this program before. About how many students get services through this program in our district each year?
So I don't have the exact number, but I did ask that earlier today. And the goal is all students who are 14 and older are accessing this in some way.
Okay, thank you.
And I should have added, we have 4 TAP coordinators in our district that help facilitate this with IVRS.
Okay.
One for each high school.
Okay.
Any other questions or information you all would like before this gets brought to us at the next regular meeting? All right. We're down to subject 11.03, board policies for board's first discussion. I will turn it over to Director Klein Jerome.
There are a lot of policies here, and hopefully you were able to read them before we couldn't get to them. Are there any questions?
My only question was about the discipline policy, because that's something that we've been trying to get through, but needed feedback from some of the administration on.
And we have not received that feedback, so we are just going with what we have and putting it in until we
have something,
get something else,
Okay.
so that we can get our policies all through.
Have we adjusted it based on any feedback from the IASB or anything? Or we're just,
I mean, we looked at all of these. We looked at what ISB
Yeah.
had to say, what we have. So yes, we have compared all of them.
Okay.
But there probably will in the future be adjustments.
Right.
But we did, all those that were sent on to the administration, we have not gotten them
Okay.
all back.
all right, thank you.
Anybody? Guess we're good.
All right, so, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if what happens, I probably should let Director Klein Jerome do this, but basically what happens after this is they'll come back for second discussion, so.
All right, so these will be on the meeting for second discussion in 2 weeks at the next regular board meeting. Are there any administrative reports?
None at this time.
Any board requests? Board request. Name of board member making the request, Director Gordon. Date of request 9/12/22. Item request is an agenda item. Description of request. I would like a presentation on the pathways to through HR for students, staff, community who file a complaint or grievance. What percentage are founded versus unfounded? What circumstance dictate an unfounded claim? How many staff and families who have left the district had unfounded claims versus complaints as a whole versus neither? Who holds HR accountable to timely and appropriate action? Why are you making this request? I am concerned about bullying, harassment of students. 1, 2, retaliation against staff members with claims, and 3, staff and students choosing to leave the district. I want to understand the process HR is supposed to follow / is following, and the circumstances of flight from DCSD. When would you like this ASAP? Is there a second?
Second. But I would ask that it be broken into 2 separate requests because it seems like there's a couple different.
You seconded it. It's the
okay.
request.
Never mind.
All right. Any other board requests? All right. Board reflections. Director Gordon.
I appreciated all of the information given regarding the summer school program and the answers to our questions about that. Sorry, this meeting went a lot faster than I was expecting it to, and I wasn't prepared to give my reflections. It was a good meeting, a lot of good feedback from the community as well. Thank you.
Director Potts.
I appreciated the summer school report because that was information we were looking for. And I think we can make some improvements in that, especially how we can get more kids that need summer school to go to summer school, especially when you consider we came off 2 years of quasi-learning. And there's more kids should have been in summer school. I also want to thank the people from Walcott for coming today. There was a large contingent of you at the first meeting we had, public meeting, and a large contingency at the second public meeting, and your time and effort here is well appreciated.
Thank you, Director Hayes.
I would like to echo Director Potts. With the summer school, I would have liked to have seen many more in school, especially with our state numbers that we have, but at least it was a decent turnout. Also, I really, really commend the Walcott community for how it kind of shows your support for your community when there is a crisis, as President Gosa mentioned, that the board has not even had privy information to all of this. And for everyone coming out support, I really appreciate you all coming out. And hopefully we can come out and visit you at some time.
Thank you. Director Klein Jerome.
I also appreciated the summer school information. I guess I'd like to know, kind of as a follow-up, okay, if you didn't maintain or improve, what are we doing for these kids, now that they started this fall? Is there a follow-up, or it's just like, okay, well, they didn't, so I guess I'd like some more information, possibly in the future, about how we address the kids who didn't show any growth or maintained. I also would like to thank the Walcott community. I taught at Walcott many years ago. In fact, some of you were my students. That's how old I am. But thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Director Poston.
I too want to thank the Walcott community. This is exactly what I expect from the Walcott community. That school is, as many of you mentioned, is so supported by the community. And I just want you to know, when that original building was built in 1956, I was in the first kindergarten class. So that's how old I am. And then when I was in ninth grade, that's when we merged with the Davenport school system. My dad served on the Walcott Community School District, and then when it merged, he served on the Davenport Community School District. So the Walcott community, it's just above any other community as far as school support, parent support. We as a board have a lot of decisions to make, and they are not going to be easy decisions. And we have to look at it as the entire district, and we have to move forward. Again, these are decisions that should have been made years ago, and now we're suffering and paying for it now. We were able to get our finances in order. We've got our citations taken care of with the state. As you well know, we lost our accreditation for a couple years. And again, these are all things that could have been avoided. But again, we've got a lot of decisions to make, and they're not going to be easy decisions.
Thank you, Director Beck.
Yeah, I really appreciated the summer school presentation. As Director Potts said, it's information we were looking for, and had a lot of good feedback. I also want to thank the Walcott community who came out. I've visited the school. It is a wonderful school, and I have a list of things I think we should consider from the open forum. So I wrote down all the things I thought would be that I thought we should take to heart. Just to clarify, we haven't, as Director Gosa said, or President Gosa said, there are no decisions that have been made. It's all exploratory at this point. We've had a number of public meetings where we've been shown information about potential ways that the district could go. So we appreciate the feedback we get from the community, because there's always something that we may not be seeing, despite our best efforts to get all the information that we possibly can from all of the parties that might possibly be interested. So please keep letting us know what you think about not just Walcott, but all of our residents. But thank you all for coming out and sharing with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Olson.
Well, I appreciated the opportunity to sit among all of you today and represent our superintendent and our cabinet. So thank you for that. And yes, thank you to Walcott community. Your advocacy and passion were felt tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my biggest takeaway is I greatly appreciate the open forum, as I've stated, and I'm sorry that the media doesn't cover it that way. But we have not had any discussions. We have not made any decisions. We wanted input from everyone, and you have all came and provided your input. I understand the community part of it. My wife and I attended the same elementary, junior high, and high school as our 4 kids have and will. That's right, I have a senior and a kindergartner. I don't know what we were thinking. But I appreciate you all repping your community and your school district. It's great that you all are involved. I wish more parents were like that. Because that might help out with test scores and things like that when people actually get engaged. It's sad that it takes something like this to get people engaged and agitated, but I'm glad people are, and they're doing things. So, again, greatly appreciate all the feedback. It's going to help us make some of the tough decisions when we have to do that, but eventually something will have to be done somewhere, and we'll have plenty of feedback to pick something from. So. Again, thank you all very much, all 16 of you and everyone else that came to support too. And with that, Director Potts, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.